Hello, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. So, before I begin, please like the video and subscribe, you guys. And today, I'm going to be talking about how a lot of pretty girls tend to have it hard in school. And a lot of people will probably hear me say this and probably won't believe it. And they'll be like, yeah, right. Who gets picked on for being pretty? Or pretty girls don't have it hard in school. But a lot of the time, a lot of pretty girls do tend to have issues in school. Most of the time is caused by other girls that they are in school with. I know that boys can tease little girls too, but for the most part, in my experience, I got teased very early on by girls. And I feel like this is definitely something that we need to start talking about a lot more. Usually, when a pretty girl talks about her negative experiences dealing with anything, people usually won't believe them. I see a lot of girls say things like, oh, there's no downsides to being pretty, but obviously, we all know that's not true. I see a lot of the naysayers say, like, oh, it happens to all women, or I got picked on too, but I was quote unquote average. When in reality, the women who say this are either ugly women trying to humble beautiful women, no offense to those women, or it's a pretty girl, but they just ended up believing all the lies that jealous and envious women told them throughout their lives. And because of that, they have low self esteem and they want to make sure that they humble every single woman who is like them so they don't think too much ahead of themselves either. And I'm just here to set the record straight that everything about yourself that you thought was negative was a lie. So, with being a pretty girl in school, I noticed you're either going to be popular or outcasted. And I'm not really sure why this happens, but in my case, I was outcasted. And I would say elementary school and middle school were the hardest years for me. High school wasn't really that bad because that was when I reached my heaviest weight. So at that time, I really just felt invisible. Anyway, as soon as I got into school, like literally pre K, I was picked on for just about anything. I would always hear stuff from the other little girls, and they would say stuff like, oh, you think you're cute, or you're not even cute, or you think you're all that. Like anytime I would get dressed up or have my hair straightened, there was a group of little girls on my bus who would just say awful things to me. And at that time, I had no idea that this was jealousy. And I was the nicest little girl ever. I had no idea why the girls didn't like me or why it was so hard for me to make friends. But looking back, obviously, it was jealousy. Because my mom, she always had me together and she would dress me in the cutest outfits and I had the nicest hairstyles. I honestly just thought it was because I was too unique or funny looking. And I remember the teasing had got so bad to the point I had to beg my mom to not do the fancy hairstyles on me or put me in these nice outfits because I didn't want to bring too much attention to myself. I just wanted to blend in and be a background character. So, all throughout elementary school, I found it extremely hard to make friends. So, whenever I would have a little friend group, I would latch on to them, even if they were mean to me and didn't like me. I was just so scared to be alone that I would just settle on being the third wheel. And I made myself the butt of the joke a lot because I thought that it was better to have friends than to be lonely. And as you can imagine, all of this negativity had an effect on my grades. So my grades were really, really bad in school because I just did not like going. It seemed like every single day I was in school, somebody just had something to say about me. And I had a few teachers and just grown women who were mean to me too. So I never really felt like I could run to anybody for support. And of course, I did have my family, but at one point I was just too nervous to tell them about this stuff because I didn't want them to cause a scene and then it could possibly be made worse. So a lot of times, the stuff that I went through, I kept it to myself. So I just really grew to resent being at school. And dealing with all of this stress caused me to stress eat. And I started to put on a little bit of weight. And that made the teasing a little worse because in the beginning, the girls were teasing me because I was looking cute. But now they're teasing me because I was chubby and also I was shy. I'm light skinned. Not that that goes hand in hand, but I do think that did make me a bit of an easy target. But either way, That is how elementary school went. It was really, really rough for me in elementary. Fast forward to middle school, the middle school I attended was predominantly black. I was teased, but it was because I didn't really get the memo on the style at first. Everyone was wearing Jordans, and I was essentially just wearing the exact opposite of what everyone else was wearing. So I started to dress up. And I noticed when I would dress up, everybody would treat me better. But that was short lived because when you're in middle school, or at least the middle school I went to, they praised you for being pretty and looking good, but if you got too much attention, they would just start hating you out of nowhere. And this is when I started to see just how mean and evil other girls can be when you get more attention than them. And I learned from that and I acted accordingly. So I made sure that I didn't overstep, essentially, so I wouldn't have these girls try to fight me. Because I saw a lot of the really, really pretty girls, they would get hyped up for about a month or so. But whenever that girl would get somebody's attention that one of the other girls liked, they would unleash full wrath on that girl. And it was scary. Like, I saw a lot of girls had rumors spread about them, they would get exposed. Some girls would threaten to fight those girls. Some girls got jumped. It was really, really bad. And I remember there was this one girl where they hated her so much because she just got so much attention that they would go in the bathroom and write mean stuff about her on the bathroom walls so that when she would go to the bathroom, she would read it. And I remember just sitting back and observing this, and I'm like, you guys are doing this over guys that don't even like you. But a lot of these girls, they just didn't care. They were living in the hood and they had really rough backgrounds. So a lot of them felt like they had nothing to lose and they didn't care what consequences they would suffer from behaving this way. Very quickly, I learned after seeing all of this chaos that if I wanted to make it through middle school safely, I'm gonna have to tone myself down so that way I won't be a threat to these other girls. Like, I saw how violent these girls got, and I knew that I looked gorgeous when I really put effort in myself, and I did not want to make the mistake of having someone's boyfriend be attracted to me. I didn't want anyone to cause me harm because these girls were ruthless and they were not playing and they were running in packs. So it was very easy for them to turn the whole school against you off of lies. And even when I toned myself down, I still had a few girls that were horrible to me, likely because they could see my potential and they wanted to make sure that I would never find that, right? So there was this one girl who was just completely awful to me throughout seventh grade. And I remember me and this girl almost got into a fight, but that's a whole nother story for another day. I remember I had this friend and she was a Hispanic girl and she would dress better than me most of the time and she liked the attention that she would get. And because me and her were so close, I wanted to ask her for fashion advice. So I remember I asked her, "Hey, where do you get your clothes from?" This girl looked at me and said, "The store." And I'm like, "What?" But when it was a girl who was not very attractive, she was telling her where she got her clothes from. So she was willing to give the advice to somebody who she knew was not able to compete with her, even if they tried. So I remember I went out maybe like that following week, and me and my sister, we had got myself a new wardrobe. So I remember I came to school after dressing up and she completely ignored me. She wouldn't talk to me for like 2 weeks. And I remember she came up to me one day in PE and she was like, "How comes you're dressing so much like me lately? I feel like you're copying me." And I was like, "Girl, nobody's copying you. I just want to look good." But she saw that I was getting a lot of attention just from dressing up. All it took was for me to put on a nice outfit and boom, everybody was all over me. But unfortunately, I was a people pleaser. So I ended up telling her, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to dress like this again and I'll just dress like my regular self." So I was wearing like sweaters and jeans again and making sure I was hiding my figure. And once she saw me dressing like this girl came up to me with a big smile on her face and was like, "Hey." And we weren't even friends throughout all of middle school. This girl stopped being friends with me after 8th grade. And I'm like, wow. Like, I literally went through so much hardship in school because I thought me and you were going to be friends, and you didn't even talk to me after 8th grade. So that was the first sign you should never, ever put yourself down to uplift others, because this girl was going to be jealous of me either way. She just wanted to see me down so that way she knew that I wouldn't eventually become better than her, because the amount of attention I was getting infuriated her. And she was not only jealous of my looks, but she was jealous of my personality and aura. Like, the main goal of most of the girls who were mean to me and who were mean to the other girls, they were doing that to make them feel less than and to put fear into them so that way they won't try to look any better. And I remember I was actually friends with a lot of the girls that were outcasted, a lot of the pretty girls that were outcasted. And I remember the things these girls would say about themselves, and it just breaks my heart even to this day, because they would call themselves ugly. And I remember all I could see was how beautiful they were and how they didn't deserve the negative treatment they received. And I spend a lot of time observing people. And I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm going to just do a little example here. I remember there was this young lady, her name was Amy Anita Joyner, and she ended up getting beat up at school by these girls who were jealous of her over a guy. And unfortunately, she lost her life due to jealous and envious girls at her school. These girls, they beat her up so bad that they hit her head into the sink. And it was just one of the most heartbreaking things I ever read. I remember the story about Ashley Lovelace and how she ended up harming herself because of people bullying her so badly online. And a lot of people will look at these girls and think that they have it easy because of how beautiful they were. But when you are hurt and targeted by women who have such dark energy in their lives, they will literally do anything to make you feel bad about yourself. And the crazy thing about all of this was these girls, I have no idea where they learned how to be so evil, because we were like 13, 14 years old, 11 and 12, because I also experienced it in 6th grade as well. But we were so young. So I'm like, where exactly are they learning this evil behavior? And keep in mind, I was at a predominantly black school and I am a black woman. So I really do think that there needs to be a conversation about how mean other black girls are to black girls who they're jealous and intimidated by, or just girls in general. And a lot of people, they aren't ready to have this conversation, but this is a conversation that needs to be had, because a lot of people kind of just skip past it in our community and they actually uplift mean girl behavior. And this is exactly why, when you enter the workplace or when you're in college or just anywhere where it's predominantly black women, why you kind of just low key feel like they're talking about you behind your back, because most of the time they are. Because most likely nobody ever checked that woman about her behavior. And that way she feels as though no matter where she is, she should be able to say whatever she wants to anybody. Even if it's a place where she has no business saying anything, like church or a very serious place like the workplace. Like, you should not run your mouth at your job, because you could get in trouble. But a lot of these girls, they haven't had anybody pull them to the side and say, hey, you're being really, really rude and you need to check that. So a lot of these women feel as if they should be able to just pick at people because they're unhappy, and that's the only way that they've learned how to deal with their unhappiness in life. All they know how to do is point that finger and run their mouth. And this is exactly why a lot of the girls that you went to school with, or girls that just treated you badly in the past, they usually are very stagnant and they never really move on to do anything great. They stay in their hometown. They date a guy from their hometown. They don't travel or anything. They don't go out and meet new people. Like they just stay stagnant. And another crazy thing, a lot of them will send you like friend requests. They'll try to follow you and watch your every move and like all your posts. And every time this happens to me, I'm like, girl, I already know what you're trying to do. And I either will block them or I'll just let them look at all of the beauty that's in my life. But either way, like, I'm not mad at anyone. And I actually did a lot of work to move on from what I've been through because it really is traumatic. And if you don't really address it, that trauma will follow you and it will turn you into a very resentful person. So you want to make sure that you are not holding on to any of that pain because you don't want that to stress you out and make you feel unhappy later on in your life. So just make sure that you forgive, but you don't forget so that way you don't end up in another situation where you're friends with somebody who treated you wrong in school and you end up seeing that you have a friend in me because these girls, they never really let go of that jealousy. So anyways, you guys, that was all I had for my video today. Please share your experiences in the comments of what you dealt with in school as a pretty girl. Was it easy or was it hard for you? Let me know, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.